Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Today on Collection Lessons, I want to talk about 0% is still losing. This is part of my Collection Lessons series. Anything I say on this channel is not anything advice, and let's get going. So, a lot of people, I find, are focused on percents. I mean, everything's are percents, APRs, right, on debt and mortgages and financing, whatever. And it's funny you don't worry about percents when you actually own the things you own. But I want to talk about four different things where I believe that 0% is still losing, because some people will say, oh, if I, let's say, buy a stock and it goes up and it goes down and it's zero and I made nothing, I didn't lose, right? And that's where I want to show some of these. So number one is trading. So in trading, usually you want to buy here, you want to sell here, and then you make this profit, right? So like a traditional chart might look like this, right? In a stock, somebody will buy here and they want to sell up here, right? However, if this were over, let's say, a 10-year period, and you bought here, let's say the whatever stock or crypto, whatever it is $100 per share, you buy it here, you go up, you go down, you go up, you go down, you go up. Let's say you put, I don't know, $1,000 in here, right? And it goes up, right? And it goes up like, let's say 100x. Like this right here, you have $100,000. So this is $100,000. And then you don't sell it. And it's back to here, $100 per whatever. And you just lost all this money. You had 100K. Now you're back down to your balance being 1,000, right? This is the price. This is how much you put in at the price, right? So let's say you had 100K, you're back to 1,000, and then you get out. You're like, well, I put 1,000 in, right? And I got 1,000 out. That's 0%. At least I didn't lose anything, right? It's like, de-illusion yourself. Do you see what happened? You were up to 100K. You were up to 100K. Do you not see that you lost 99K? Like negative 99%? Like 99K is gone. Do you not see that? No, people will focus on trading and everything. They'll focus on what did I put in? What did I take up? Oh, look, I made 0%. It's like, you know, why didn't you sell it here? Why didn't you sell some? Why didn't you sell half? Right? Like, it's crazy. Well, you know, you can't time markets and whatever. It's like, I have strategies in my videos from 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago at least, talking about a trailing stop loss that follows it up, and when price stops and comes back, you chop it off, you take this profit, you wait until it comes back down here, until it flips, you chop it off, you buy here, you sell here, right? Like after it comes down, like you could be a millionaire. Like, I fully believe my strategies in my previous videos that I continually use do have some validation, right? So, like, I've back tested them. They're about 60% of the time right, and when they're right for a good chunk, right? They're right for this much. When they're wrong, it's like, oh, you buy here, and then it just immediately plops, and it's like, oh, you only lost like 5%, right? Like, there's still some risk in there, and you allocate for that risk. But like, you can't tell me that you're in for 1,000, you're out for 1,000. Let's say this is over a 10-year period. It's like the 1,000 that you put in, inflation alone is probably only worth $900, maybe $500. So like 1,000 10 years ago is worth more than 1,000 today. 10 years difference, right? So that's not 0%. On numbers it looks like 0%, but buying power won't be, right? If you're up from 1,000 to 100,000 and you take a loss, this is a loss of 99%. It's still losing. You're still losing things. Like, imagine if you did sell the top. Let's say you put 1,000 in, it went to 100K, right? 100K, right? And then you sold it. Woohoo! You said that you made money. Then you put that 100K back in, and it goes to 1,000, are you saying you didn't lose money? Like, you just totally ignore this part. Like, totally ignore it. And you're like, well, I started 1,000. It's like, can you imagine living your life for like 50 years, putting 1,000 in the stock market crashes, you buy some crap, and like 50 years later, you're like at 1,000, and you're like, oh, I didn't lose any money in the last 50 years. It's stupid. It's 0% is still losing in a trading sense. In another sense, in vehicles. Somebody like in the last like 2-3 years ago, somebody I know that bought like a 4Runner on 0%, right? 0% 4Runner. It's a 4Runner, brand new, or runner, and I think it was like, I don't know how much it was. It was maybe like 50, 60K or something like that. 60K at 0%, right? And they're like, yeah, 0%, 60K. It's like, do you not realize that like the dealership prices that in, right? If you think of like it's baked in. It's priced in there. Like, what's the difference between 45, K, let's say at, I don't know, 15%, or 60K at 0%? What's the difference here if they both add up to 60K over 5 years? What's the difference? There is no difference. There's no freaking difference. 0% is still losing. They baked it in. They priced it in. But people will say, oh, I'd rather have this one at 0% than this one at 15. It's like, in the end, they're both the same. You're still losing. Financing at any thing. And by the way, when you buy this, at 60K or 45K at 15%, after 5 years, what do you think it's worth? It's worth probably only 40K. Right? Or 30K. So then you paid over 5 years, let's say these add up, 60K for a 30K vehicle, because you technically own it after you finance it, after you're done. So you still overpaid. It's still losing. You're still losing money because you didn't pay it in cash. Well, what if I paid the 60K in cash? Then you can afford it. Like, whenever you finance something you can't afford. Like, I'll say it again. If you can't pay cash in it and you have to finance, you can't afford it. And you probably shouldn't buy it. It's not the best time because you can't afford it, right? Let alone the whole, like, the 10% thing that I say with vehicles in another video. Other than that, right? Just financing in general is just a losing deal. Doesn't matter the percent. Doesn't matter anything. They're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. Do you think these dealerships are doing this for you? No. They want money. They want revenue. They price it, right? So that's where I want to show that 0% doesn't matter if it's vehicles, if it's trading, or if it's just financing. It doesn't matter. There's always somebody making money. There's algorithms going on in the background that are way more complex and smart than we are. It's the same thing as if you buy with your Visa, your MasterCard, your credit card, right? You have that 12 to 14 day grace period, right? Where you pay 0% on your financing. Like, when you buy with a credit card, you're financing, right? Like, that's a thing, right? Like, if you buy something now and you delay it to later, that's called financing, right? When you pay in chunks, oh, I can pay it all up front. Doesn't matter. It's financing, and then the APR kicks in, and it's still financing. Like, it's not just, it doesn't turn to financing when this turns to the 22% that your credit card charges or whatever. It's always been financing from the start because you put it on a credit card. So it doesn't matter if you, like, people will get blinded by points or cash back or whatever, but if you pay for something, and it's not in cash or it's not prepaid, it's financing, and at 0%, there's likely money that they made on you because you did it with your credit card. It's either behavior, that's what Dave Ramsey always says. Credit cards basically form a behavior that you will unnoticedly, we'll call it that, pay more with your credit card rather than if you had cash. Like, if you go to McDonald's, and this is just an example, go to McDonald's with cash, your chances of upsizing your McDonald's is actually lower. That's proven when you have cash. So, like, even if you use your credit card chances of you upsizing are huge compared to if you used cash. So it doesn't matter if you're getting 0% in that grace period of your credit card. Likely you've overpaid because you said yes to upselling or you said yes to something extra. And if you got self-control, great, but one of these times, it only takes one to slip up and you just paid 5-10% more because you had a credit card in general and you financed it at 0% in the grace period. That's what I want to share with the 0% is still losing. It doesn't matter if you're financing this. It doesn't matter if you're trading and you make 0% over 10 years. It doesn't matter if you're using your credit card in the grace period of 0%. You're still losing to something. And you just need to get out of that broke debt mindset. That's all you gotta do. Think different. It's basically what this whole channel is about. So, hope you guys are doing well. That's it for this video. Thanks, and talk soon.